And this scenario that you guys are gonna watch is something that has been out on YouTube for a while because there is a ton to learn from it. And I'm excited to do that with you guys. Let's break it down. All right, as you guys can see, these guys are in an up-armored vehicle. And if you don't know that, you're about to see what I mean here in a second. But these guys are driving along. They're clearly transporting something that somebody else wants. And they're in an up-armored vehicle. And these guys are going to get attacked and shot at while they're on the move. There is a ton of learning points here, and we're going to break those down step by step. So these guys are paired up together, and they are on the highway. You know, looks like some type of an interstate where they're moving probably at around 55 miles an hour, 50 to 55 miles per hour. Now, that's a dynamic environment. And I know me personally, and also a lot of other security guys out there that work this type of job, that do security details, that have side gigs doing security. There's a ton of time in between scenarios that are going down like this. Like, who knows if these guys have ever been in a scenario like this or ever will be again. But there's a ton of time that we spend, and these guys I'm sure spent, visualizing this type of scenario. So as you guys can relate to that out there that have done this type of job, I'm sure you're feeling every bit of this scenario as we play it out. So let's let it roll. These guys are cruising on the highway, and they open fire right on the vehicle. So talk about feeling almost helpless in that sense where these guys got ambushed. Now, I don't know if there's any pre-context to this, but they are getting attacked by some deliberate threats. As you can see in this scenario, there's dudes all over the place out on the highway trying to shoot at them as they pass by. So there's multiple vehicles involved here with trying to take this truck down. Again, I don't have any context with what they have in this vehicle, but this is a serious, gotta break contact scenario now. Thankfully, the armor that they have, which we just talked about armor, stopped at least the initial barrage. The one thing I'm gonna say about this guy on the left, this whole time, you almost feel like you're in the vehicle with him. And he's got a sense of focus that you can't really replace. And so what does that mean to me in this scenario? And we're gonna go back and break all these things down. I got more points in this. But what does that mean to me? This guy feels like he's got former training, law enforcement, prior military. He's keeping his calm. He's giving good, clear orders. And one thing that we're gonna go back and see is that he took a big, deep breath in the middle of that. And sometimes people lock up and get so focused on what they got going on, they forget to do that. Another great point. But this guy kept his composure all the way through this. His intensity and his ability to accept reality as it was at the highest level it could have been in that scenario of being ambushed. So let's start this from the beginning. These guys pass already. He's checking his mirrors, he's looking around, and they open fire. So when he swerves to the right, he's clearly trying to cut them off because he was getting contacted from the right. Now, you see him, the first principle, what I want to talk about is that he accepts reality as it is. What makes it easier for him to accept reality in this scenario is I can almost guarantee this with my life. He's visualized this exact day. When is somebody going to open fire? When is this going to happen? Where is it going to come from? And what am I going to do about it? He immediately tried to cut that car off. One thing we're going to talk about in these scenarios is that your weapon is a vehicle. And especially in this instance where he really doesn't have any other choice, but they're moving at speed and he starts to move into those guys. Now pause it right here. The other thing you need to keep in mind is what you don't want to do is turn your asset, which is your vehicle, into a liability by losing control, swerving too hard, crashing into the wall, and totally flipping the vehicle. Now you're literally a sitting duck. And now you're fully exposed and vulnerable for them to come up to you and take whatever it is they wanted to get from you in the beginning. So keep that in mind. We don't want to over-respond here, which he did a great job of doing. It was a small little turn to the side. He was able to deflect that car and keep moving. These guys were all out already waiting. They had that rolling field of fire already prepped, ready to go. What does he do? he continues to use his vehicle as a weapon. Let it play. Those guys are all potential threats. You know, maybe he could have done a better job of smashing into that door and taking more of them out, but he chooses, in a sense, to keep moving. Why does he do that? Well, because there's other vehicles involved with this. And so he's like, am I going to slow myself down? Is it an opportunity to get stuck? Maybe I damage the vehicle. So honestly, I think with everything given here, without him really knowing the context of what was going to happen next, I think he made a good call, as close as he could have gotten to injure those guys, but still keep the vehicle moving. That is his biggest asset, is this vehicle that's been protecting him all the way up into this point. All right, let it play. Okay, he's telling him to get the phone out. Now he's giving him clear direction. Pause. This is the other element that I wanted to talk about. He's giving clear guidance on what to do. Call these other dudes, call these other assets, bring them into the fight, bring them to what's going on right now. Let them know that this is happening. Again, you have to assess beforehand, what is the value of these things? You know, what is the value of calling the police right here and now? Maybe there is a cruiser that's 30 seconds down the road that responds and all of a sudden I got backup. That is a possibility. So when able, like I always say, you're still in the fight, look at, he's got a buddy right here that can dial that number. He can still use all his levels of awareness, still manipulate the vehicle, manipulate his environment, and keep control of that asset that he has at his fingertips and get him to try to add that field of fire on their own. Get another asset out here. Call these assets that maybe they're with him, maybe they were even following him. Again, in these scenarios that we break down together, guys, we don't necessarily know the context of this. They may have had trail vehicles. I know when we did specific operations, we would offset vehicles in different places to make sure that we could respond quickly as a quick reaction force. Main principle, he is giving clear direction. I believe if we go back, for those of you guys that are listening to this, you know, I want you guys to just paint this picture in your head about these guys are in a vehicle, they're in an up-armored vehicle, they're working together, they're getting shot at from other vehicles. But there's one point in here where he takes a giant breath. It's almost, I think, maybe 5 seconds into it, where he's like, okay, this is real. I'm accepting my reality. We're doing this. And that immediately allows oxygen to come to his brain, allows him to have more focus. And now he's able to assess each piece and break it down consistently. So let's see if we can try to capture that right after the initial barrage, because it's important for you guys to see. So he's already given direction here, gets the phone out. He's using this vehicle to the best of his ability. I can tell you, for all the driving courses that I've done, he is working the capabilities of this vehicle while trying to maintain its safety and not flip the thing and turn it into a liability. Working the gears a little bit. Again, how many times has he really pushed this vehicle to its fullest extent? Now, why he's getting out here, I'm not exactly sure, and what the purpose of him shifting gears in that manner was, but he obviously made that choice deliberately. You know, maybe it was because all the windows were so shot out, he had no visibility. He knows he has a firearm. He knows he has a primary weapon, which is a long gun, which would be a great thing to have in that scenario where if these guys knew they were taking on an up-armored vehicle, they may even have armor of their own. So just that understanding of what capability you have. These guys knew what they had at their fingertips. They knew they had a firearm. He displayed solid communication, good clarity, and good focus. The biggest things that I had talked about before is that he accepted the reality as it was. He kept breathing in his pattern of focus. He knew it was important, probably visualized it or either did it before. He kept fighting. Even though he was getting shot at and ambushed and other vehicles kept overlapping, he kept fighting, kept moving forward, and did not stop. I'm telling you right now, that's probably one thing that saves a lot of people's lives. Instead of pausing and be like, okay, what's going on now? Keep pressing forward until you have the position of advantage. And that may have been him getting out of the vehicle, lifting his gun up, and realizing that he had the threats in a better position. And ultimately, he coached the other guy through this and was able to give good, clear direction. The other guy was kind of sitting there like, what's happening? What do I do? I don't know what's going on. And him giving him clear direction got him more in the fight. Instead of sitting around, get the gun up, get the phone out, pay attention to the other mirrors. Maybe that's something he could have been better about. Look in the mirrors, tell me where they're at, communicate with me if you see anything at all. Get him to take a couple of deep breaths. If I had the opportunity as well, I'm gonna start communicating with him. Hey, if I go down, make sure you do X, Y, Z. Hey, if I get hit, make sure you know the medical kit is right here in between us. You know, those are things that you could do. If I'm going down the highway and my foot's on the pedal, there might be an instance where I'm like, okay, I just avoided that barrage. I'm going around them now and I'm stepping on the gas and I just shifted gears and I'm waiting for us to hit a certain RPM. Well, that's time in the fight that I'm literally doing nothing except checking my mirrors. That's a great time to take advantage of doing something else like communicate, look in your mirrors, change your perspective, think about something else because it's a little bit of a lull in the fight. You're not getting shot at that very moment, but it's almost a pause in the fight because you have this 5 seconds of stepping on the gas and going through the highway. Is don't let those opportunities slip from your fingers. Make sure you take advantage of every pause or lull in the fight to do something else to get yourself in a better position. I could watch this 100 more times and watch every detail of his language, his body language, his movement, his breathing, his awareness. You know, he's got glasses on. So clearly he doesn't have the best vision, but he's still trying. Even right there, he's looking into the rearview mirror. He's doing everything he can. He is doing whatever his hand finds to do with all his might at that very moment. And I believe that from where he's at. If the other guy was doing that, he turns himself into an asset. Now you're talking about being a force multiplier. You're winning that fight. So again, this is a scenario where I'm sure some people can visualize, even if we weren't in an up-armored vehicle, what are we doing if our car starts getting shot at for no reason and we're passing through a neighborhood, right? Win the fight, get through. Does your vehicle work? Keep moving forward. And ultimately get out of there or break contact or escalate to a position of advantage. I love breaking these down. This is such a great video to watch. I hope you guys watch it a few more times. Think about those points that I brought up and remember these principles. Accept your reality as they are, keep breathing, communicate clearly, follow through and keep fighting. All right, guys, that was this scenario on dangerous questions. These are even getting more fun. You guys keep bringing up points and pointing out videos that we can break down together. We appreciate all of it. I hope you're continuing to learn. And this episode is about everyday carry as well. Bringing my point up again, do not get complacent if you're already a guy out there that's carrying on a daily basis. Remember why you're carrying. If you're just getting into everyday carry, don't take it for granted and try to increase your ability to accept these things and embrace this type of gear and say, I'm gonna make this a part of my lifestyle. Take it seriously because your life truly can depend on it. God bless you guys. And this is Dangerous Questions, an Ironclad original. We'll see you on the next one.